Hey there, welcome to the Traveling Homesteader at Gyroscope Farm. I'm Kathy. Piper and Jeansa are here with me, kind of tootling about, just checking out a different location. And we're actually at our local grange. I just thought I'd have a little sit here out and about with my dogs. And as you may hear, the neighbor has animals out and about. I think some guineas, it sounds like, and some chickens. And they're out and about doing their thing as well. But I just wanted to kind of, with the new year, kind of land a little bit of a aha moment that I had recently. And I thought I'd share it with you in case you might want to partake in similar aha moment. Basically, I had found that I had basically been stockpiling things for food storage. And I don't know if stockpiling is really the right word I want to use, but essentially I was stockpiling or storing an excess of food for in case. And, with that in mind, through my church and through even the pandemic, even local governments, and they're all suggesting that you have an amount of food storage saved up. And like within our church, they suggest 3 months, kind of at minimum, up to a year's worth of food storage. So in case you need something because of any emergency. Could be the pandemic, like pandemic that happened. It could be if someone lost a job or if somebody got sick in your family, that you have enough food to support yourself for a period of time without having to go to somebody else for help. Well, I had realized that I hadn't used a stash of stuff in my food storage for a while. And I was like, I'm cleaning it out. And as I started going, I was like, there's this and that and the other thing. And so I had enough things that hadn't hit their expiration date yet or were just on the edge. Like I had some taco shells that were going to come, the expiration date or best if used by date was December of 2023. So it just passed. So in my kind of sorting of things, I realized several different things in my reorganization of things. One, I didn't need to have as much stuff as I had. And number two, I don't need to go out and buy more just in case. Because along the way, I realized that my eating habits have changed. There are things that I had in my food storage that I've decided just naturally not to eat much of anymore. So to have extra of certain ingredients of something that I used to eat a lot doesn't make sense to have much of now. So the whole idea of moderation, in this case, kind of came to mind. But then I didn't want to throw out all the food that I had set aside or taken off my shelves or out of my freezers. So I thought, okay, there are several organizations that I can go to. So because it was between Christmas and New Year's when I decided to do this, I ended up, I thought, okay, I will bring it to a local food pantry. And unfortunately, the food pantry was closed. Yeah, they didn't, because of the holidays, they just weren't open when I could go. But then there's another local organization called the Gleaners that I knew of, one group in one town. I happen to know someone in that group because we go to church together. And we've known each other for years. And so I asked her, I said, hey, can I bring you some stuff? And she said, sure, I'm going to be there from this time to that time. Anyway, so just come on by. Well, I ended up being a bit too late, and she had to run to get her husband at the airport. So we kind of missed on that. But as we got talking, she said, hey, there's a family in our church that I think could really use that right now because, and with this particular family, the father had gone to North Carolina to see his son and daughter-in-law and was helping them out at their place. In addition to, it sounds like he was at his own, he had bought another home there, maybe as a rental. And anyway, he was up a tree at one of these two locations and ended up falling from the tree 25 feet. And just, bad injuries. Several, his ankle, his leg, his hips, his back. So he's kind of struggling right now. Anyway, long story short, he's still very much recuperating. and now he's back here in Oregon. But it's a long journey that he's been through already, and even longer to recover. Anyway, this particular family is a good family in our community, both like community at large and within our church community. And so in talking with the friend at this other organization, I decided to bring some food to this family to hopefully help them out, because it's not only the mom and dad, but they have several kids at home, as well as the ones that have already gotten married and are off on their own. So I decided to bring some food to them. And so my hope is that in me giving them this food, that I'm not trying to, I don't want them to feel awkward for me having given it to them, because I wasn't going to use it. And I think they could. And so that's one thing to consider, is that if you have too much of something, try to find someone to give it to, whether it's a food bank or something like the Gleaners, or if you know somebody in your neighborhood or in your church or another organization you belong to, maybe you could give something to someone else. So with this kind of experience of my food storage, that kind of had me realize three things. One, I need to kind of pare down what I get for me as a single person. I need to kind of better gauge that. Number two, I was glad to be able to help this family out, even though I think they have a family of about 6 to 10 in their home right now, because they even took in another child, another minor in their home, and so that was generous of them to. And plus they foster kids, and they've adopted a couple of kids, and so good family. But then the third thing I realized was that the things in moderation really are important, and that stuff isn't that much of an important thing. So when I lived in China, it was kind of almost a reverse culture shock coming back for me, because I realized there's just stuff everywhere that's advertised for us. And we're a very consumer-driven society, which on one hand is good and the other hand is bad. So it's good to have all these different options, but on the other hand, having too much is like, stop. But that also leads me to kind of a fourth thing that I realized since giving this food, is that I know for me financially, I've been kind of like, I'm not thick in the numbers department, but I'm not a numbers person. But I got thinking, how am I having a decent job at a decent wage, and I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm paying all my bills, but I feel like I should have more money than I do. And I realized I'd been putting money into my food storage instead of putting it in other places that would help me out better financially. So again, that was really kind of a light bulb moment that I was like, I need to reallocate my money in a better way, knowing that I can use what I have in a different capacity. So that's what I'm going to try to kind of encourage you guys to do, is see how you can see what you're doing to spend your money. Not that it's bad, but maybe think of it as your magazines. And you're probably like, what are you talking about, lady? Magazines? And just as a little bit of an illustration, several years ago, it's maybe 10, 15 years ago, within my church, I was in a position of leadership where I learned about a particular two ladies in our church. And again, within our church, it's not necessarily just church related, but in our church, we do really promote self-reliance and just relying on yourself first to take care of the things that you can, and then when and if you can't, going to the aid of your family, and then the church, and then say the community or government. But not to immediately go I can't take care of this, I'm going to apply for unemployment. Or I can't take care of this, I'm going to ask, my neighbor. So in this case, there was two ladies, a mother and daughter, who kept coming back to the church to ask for help for money. And it was for any given thing. It was for gas in the car to take somebody to the doctor. It was for food. It was for all sorts of different things. So with these two ladies having asked for money on and off repeatedly for years, the man we would call, like our minister, we called Bishop, was talking with these two ladies, and he said, "Okay, ladies, we'd like to help you out, but we can put together a food basket for you, or a food order for you." And they said, "No, we need cash." And at that point, the mother's husband, I don't know if that was daughter's dad, but the mother had a husband that was in need of going to some doctor's appointments, and she said, "No, we need gas. We need money for gas. So can you please give us money for gas?" Then he said, "Well, okay, let's check out some of your finances. Do you have anything extra that you might not need?" And she said, No, we really don't. We are kind of on a shoestring." And he says, "Okay, well, do you have any subscriptions? Do you have, like, say, internet? Or do you have magazine subscriptions?" She said, yes, we have all these magazines." "Well, how many magazine subscriptions do you have?" And it was something like 15 or 20 magazine subscriptions that they had. And the bishop said, "Wait a minute, do you really need 15 magazine subscriptions?" And they said, "Oh, yes, we have this one for that, and this one for this other thing, and oh, this other one is our favorite. So no, we can't give up any of those." And he said, "Well, you realize that many of those are at the library locally, and they're free, and you don't have to pay for them." And they said, "Oh, no, we don't really like going to the library." And so finally he said, "Okay, here's the deal. We want to help you out, but if you're not willing to help yourselves out by lowering the amount of magazines you have, or other subscriptions, or other things you purchase to compensate for gas in your tank to bring your husband to the doctor, then we can't help you here." And so that was something to me that I've kind of taken with me, and I said, okay, what are my magazines in my life? What are the things that I'm not really willing to give up, or having a hard time giving up, instead of doing something else for a period of time? And so that's where I'm challenging you, is what are your magazines that you are, maybe you feel you need to have, and you need to get, and you need to have this for that, and this is for this other thing. But when you look at it, you say, I really need money for my electric bill, but I don't have enough money because I'm putting that money in this other thing instead. Or maybe, like me, you've gotten an abundance of food in your home, instead of setting some money aside for, say, your electric bill, or gas, or some other basic need. And so I know with me, in looking at this, I say, with me, I realized this over this last couple weeks doing my food storage change up, Tetris, you might say, I've come to realize I've been putting a lot of money into my food storage that I could be putting into something else, like my savings, or into something for a new car or a home. And so that's the thing that I'm going to challenge you about, is one, how can you give to another in some capacity? And then two, how can you adjust what you're doing to help yourself save money for another area of your life? And I know, like I said before, I'm no financial guru, but I know that if I'm needing money for this and I have a job, I somehow need to kind of make that jump to make that happen. And budgeting is the basic of basics to help you do that. And so every month I tend to go and reassess what I need to do based on a class I took through Dave Ramsey. And if you want to check out something that's really basic and helpful, well, it's basic, but it's also very helpful. And he has a lot of different things you can look at that are free resources online. So Dave Ramsey is a good avenue, as is Susie Orman. Susie Orman is another good avenue to look into. She has a lot of good options as well. And so there's a couple of different people you can look to get ideas. So I hope today's helped you a little bit in kind of in my experience, what I just experienced. Maybe it will shed some light on something that you can do this new year to help yourself kind of adjust what you're doing in your self-reliance journey, and realize that it's just for a period of time. It's not whatever you're doing, you can make that adjustment for just a little while, and then when everything's all right and ready to go, you can change again. And I know sometimes change is hard for some people, but in the end, it's going to all be worth it. And so with that in mind, I'm really glad that you stopped by, and thanks for checking us out. If you had the opportunity to check out my art journals, they're 150-page lined journals with my photography on them. And again, you can check them out at Amazon, and I'll put the link down below for you. And they'll be continually having new and different images on books for you to choose from. So thanks again for stopping by, and I hope you have a good new year.